Wilkie, Dr. Stone, and our other witnesses for your service to our veterans. Obviously, with Mr. Saban's line of questions and Mr. Stubbe's line of questions, there is work to do. There are problems. But I do want to just note for the record my appreciation and my colleagues' appreciation for the President's budget request. $243 billion, a 10.2% increase above the 2020 enacted levels. I'll note the testimony that you provided again that the VA's budget has increased more than $60 billion or 33% since 2017 under this administration's leadership. And the fact that the 2021 request would support 404,835 full-time equivalent employees at the VA, an increase of nearly 15,000 above 2020, and then more than 33% of those employees are veterans. I think that is an indication of the commitment that the Trump administration has to the VA, and I think it also dispels the myth that this administration is interested in privatization. I think that those basic facts run totally contrary to this narrative that somehow this administration is moving towards privatization. Clearly not. When you have that much of a significant increase in funding and employment at the department, and I appreciate this administration's promises made and promises kept approach to our veterans. But as my colleagues have noted, there are challenges that remain. As we all know, the opioid epidemic is an issue that has touched every community in the United States, and especially in my home state of Kentucky. According to the CDC, Kentucky is among the top 10 states with the highest opioid prescribing rates. I was encouraged to read your testimony, the efforts that the VA is taking to reduce the reliance on opioid medication for pain management. You note that alternative therapies like whole health that are important to components of the VA's pain management strategy. As you know, I've been a strong advocate of these alternative therapies like acupuncture, equine-assisted therapy, adaptive sports. And in the 21 budget request, I will note that unfortunately funding for the VA's whole health initiative did not increase, and neither did funding for the adaptive sports program. My question is, why is the funding stagnant if this is in fact an effective method of getting veterans off of opioids?
Sir, you've recognized accurately that we've led the nation in reduction of opioid use. Our actual opioid use disorder patients have actually, from 18 to 19, actually went down. We just had a session in which we took a look at the use of whole health in the reduction of opioids and other pain medicines, and found that if we added whole health techniques, Tai Chi, various cognitive efforts, yoga, what we found was an additional 38% reduction in pain medicines. Now, what you're seeing in the budget is we really believe it's time, instead of having this sitting off to the side, that we integrate into our PACT team models, our care team models, the capability to do this work. And that's where, although you see it's stable in the budget, it is actually a reflection of an evolution in how we're approaching whole health techniques.
Well, thanks for your efforts on opioid avoidance, and just note for the record my interest in the whole health and the adaptive sports and all of those alternatives. The appeals backlog. Obviously, we appreciate the $24 million increase for the Board of Veterans' Appeals above the 2020 enacted budget. We know that you have good intentions to address the pending legacy appeals, but I will tell you from my casework that despite the Appeals Modernization Act, and it has helped, we know that Appeals Modernization has helped. We still, though, have a problem with the legacy appeals in our casework. We're seeing 3-year delays. Can you tell us what is the biggest factor causing that delay? And what are we learning, and when are we going to get to those legacy appeals, because that's impacting my veterans?
Sure. The Appeals Modernization Act, as you point out, is a great success. So let me sort of talk a little bit in the details. Over at the Veterans Benefits Administration, we process legacy appeals, and those are generally resolved, but some can go to the Board of Veterans Appeals. The increase you describe is for more judges and more support to actually process their way through that. So we are experiencing the last sort of part of the new beginning, if you will. You're right, this is a big focus. I know that the board is thinking about not just in-person hearings, but telehearings and every kind of way to work that off. I believe they said this will be done by 2022, but I'll be happy to arrange for them to come and talk to you about it. But they know this is a very important effort.
Thank you. I'm over my time, and I appreciate your service and your work. Yield back.
Thank you, Mr.